Good afternoon, students. Today in this class, we are going to learn how to delete or remove or drop columns and rows from a data frame. So we have a data frame, and in that data frame we can either remove columns or remove rows, and we can remove single column or more than one columns, or we can remove a single row or more than one rows. So the various techniques that are used is being discussed here. The main that method we are going to use is the drop method. Yeah, the data frame, it's a member method of the data frame class, and you can use this drop method with certain parameters inside it, and it is going to drop either columns or rows. Now the main thing you must understand here is, if you want to drop columns, this value of axis should always be actually 1, and if you want to drop rows, the value axis should be 0. And one more thing, since this is not, this particular operation here, as I am doing it, is not going to affect the original data frame as of now. Later we'll see how to affect or modify the existing data frame. I'm going to copy the whole the operation into a new data frame. So this operation will create a new data frame, and the original data frame remains intact. Okay. Now I have a data frame here, which is I can show you visually. This is the data frame here. Okay, there are 3 columns and about 5 rows here, and we have got data about roll number, names, and student names and marks of students. Now I have created this data frame using the known methods of creating data frame, and assigning the index to the data frame, and then printed the data frame to for your convenience to understand how the data frame looks like. Now I am going to remove the column marks. I'm going to remove the column marks. This column, the marks must be removed from this data frame. For that, I am going to use this method data frame df1. This is the df1 data frame, and this data frame 1 drop. And in this method, I'm going to pass the parameter called columns, and we'll assign the value of marks to the column. As soon as we do that, the data frame 2 will be created, df2 will be created with the removed column marks. Now you can see the result of this operation. The data frame 2 has got only 2 columns. There are 5 rows and 2 columns in this. The marks column is no more. Okay, that's how we are able to remove one data frame, one column from the data frame. Now next is topic is to do the same operation, but here I am not, you see here this particular parameter here, we are assigning kind of keyword parameter here, columns is equal to marks. Okay, while calling the method here, I am not going to pass that keyword parameter. I am going to give positional parameter value marks, and this will, as I said, this will actually either it can be a column or a row. To make it understand, make that method understand that it's a column, I'll make the axis equal to 1. As soon as I make the axis equal to 1, same operation that you have done at the first cell will be repeated, and we see that again the column marks is removed. So now there we have understood there are 2 methods here. First method, where I am using the parameter, keyword parameter, columns is equal to marks, and here I am passing a positional parameter and a keyword parameter, and I am assigning the value of 1 to this axis parameter, and that makes the column marks to get removed from the data frame, and the new data frame is assigned to the data frame df2. So this is df2, and the original data frame is df. This is the original data frame, which is df1. Okay, now if we want to remove more than one columns, then I can assign a list of column names which are to be removed from the same method, and columns is equal to the list of columns, and they should be valid columns, and then only you can remove the columns. So it is, you see that it is removing the 2 columns, marks and name. Only roll number column is existing now in the new data frame df2. The same thing can be achieved without assigning this columns attribute. We can use the list of marks, the list of column names, levels, and then axis is equal to 1 to achieve the same thing. So I have removed 2 columns here, marks and name, using df1.drop. the list of columns to be removed and x is equal to 1. That's how we are removing. Now here is the third method which can be used to remove columns is to provide a kind of this columns attribute of the data frame class, this columns property of the data frame class with a value of the index, the value of the column index. Column index is the absolute value. So 1, if I say giving 1, so there are 3 columns: roll number, name and marks. The roll numbers is the 0th column, name is the first 1 column, and index of the marks is 2. So I am passing the value of 1 to the column. So you will see that the name column is removed from the data frame. The same thing can be achieved with the second method. Columns is equal to df1 dot columns, and in this square brackets I put 1. If I put 2, what will happen? See, I'm putting 2 and then running this particular operation, this cell, and we see that if we give 2 to it, what has happened? If you give 2 to it, the marks column has been removed. So it depends upon which column you want to remove. I provide the index value. Earlier we stored the level name, column level names, and this time we are using the index value. This is also another way of removing columns from a data frame. Okay, and next one is basically if I want to remove more than 1 columns, so I can still pass a list of columns inside the columns. Basically, that columns attribute requires a list, and this columns attribute I am passing a list of columns. So, and you please see the double brackets here. The double brackets that encompasses more than 1, that is columns to be removed. I give the index value to it 1 and 2. That means name and roll number will be, name and marks will be removed, and the roll number column will be inside the remaining inside the newly created data frame df2. The same thing can be achieved using removing the excess and providing the columns attribute. So that's how we can do removing columns from an existing data frame. Now, to remove rows from a data frame, the main thing you must understand that we have something called x is equal to 0, and in place of columns we write labels. To remove rows we write labels, to remove columns we write columns. Okay, just please understand this. So I am going to remove the row s1, whose level index level is s1. So I am providing s1, and you see when I drop this particular row, and you see that with the drop command, this s1 is no more a part of the newly created data frame. So the same thing can be achieved by removing this levels attribute, and then only passing s1 followed by x is equal to 0. So this same method, same ideology goes behind dropping your rows too. There is other ways of dropping rows. I can drop set of rows by passing the list of rows to be removed from the data frame. I have passed here s1, s3, and s5, and the same thing in the levels with the levels parameter, and without the levels parameter also, with x is equal to 0, we can achieve the same thing. Okay, this has removed the row s1, s3, and s5. Only s2 and s4 are the part of the data frame. Okay, and same thing can be done by having the index df1. There, if you remember, we did the columns. Now here I am giving the index. If you see the earlier one, when I removed columns, drop the columns, you see that df dot columns. Here df dot index is the attribute which we are changing. So I am using here df.index. So if I use df.index, I can add the indices which I want to. These are now called row indices: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the 4 indices, and I'm going to remove s index at position 1, that is s2. Position 3 is actually position 3 as this one, and position 4 is this one. This is position 4. All these indices will be removed, and you see s1 and s3 are pending. s2, s4, and s5 are gone, and S3 and S5, S1 and S3 are remaining in the data frame. That's how we remove the data frame. There are various ways of removing these rows also. And another way of doing is the same. I can provide a range. Also, the range function, if you remember, inside the index parameter, I can provide the range function. Range 3 is actually it amounts to 0 to 3, where 3 is not included. The last index in range function is always omitted if you have remembered range function in the for loop. Okay, same thing is applicable here. So range 3, 0, 1, 2 are 0, 1, 2, 3 are removed. 0, 1, 2, sorry. One S1, S2, and S3. That means that is 0. S1 is 0th index, S2 is first index, and S3 is the second index. And 0th index, first index, and second index are removed by the range function, because 3 stands for 0 to 2. Okay, the third 3 is not a part of it. You'll understand the same thing in a detailed manner, better way. So I'm going to remove in range 0 to 5, where 5 is not included, and in the step of 2 you will see that 0 to 5, that is all the rows. So 0 is this one will be removed, and jump by 2, then S3 will be removed, and jump by 2, S5 will be removed. So S2 and S4 will remain the part of the data frame. Now we have learned that by this time we have learned that we are assigning the modified data frame to a new data frame. Now suppose you want to actually do modification in the existing data frame and not into a copied data frame. So I use something called another argument in the drop method, that is called the in place is equal to true. If you write in place is equal to true in all the given operations till now, from start to the end, we have studied so many operations, and if you provide in that one ingredient or one parameter which is basically in place equal to true, it is going to affect the existing data frame. You can see here that now I am not assigning it to a new data frame. I am not assigning it to a new data frame, and I am removing the name the column name, and in place is equal to true. If I provide in place is equal to true, you will see that I am not assigning to a new data frame anymore. I am trying to remove columns from the existing data frame, and which is possible here. And you can see that this is affected, and the existing data frame, the modification has been done. So there is another way I have done it. I have removed a row, and you see that in place is equal to true, where I am not assigning any new data frame. So I have to remove this because I have copied certain stuff from here. So I am not doing this here. Here also, I'm going to remove this, not required anymore. And you see that I'm not assigning to any new data frame, and the modifications or the removal of row is in place. That means the original data frame gets modified with the removal of the rows S1, S3, and S5. So here are the various ways we can delete rows and columns from a data frame. Please remember a few very important things. The attributes which we use inside a drop for removing columns is columns and x is equal to 1. Okay, in case of rows, we use labels and x is equal to 0. Okay, and if you want to remove from in place, we or the same data frame, we use in place is equal to true. By default, in place is false. That's why a new data frame is created every time we remove a column or a row from the existing data frame. So students, thank you very much for observing this particular video where we have learned how to delete rows and columns from a data frame. Okay, thank you very much. And with this, I come to the end of this class. Have a nice day.